And by the way, that is like the worst phrase to ever come out of 2020. What's going on, everybody? Mark Zukowski here, and it has been a while since we last connected, but I am excited to be back talking with all of you today. And what I'm going to share with you guys, I don't think I've ever shared with anybody other than my wife. But I've long carried around this guilt, like I was doing something wrong, because I've been blessed with a variety of different things. A supportive family, college degree, good job. I was born here in the US, so that alone is a nice leg up, right? And I'm not saying that all those things just fell into my lap. I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. Parents always made me work for things. I've always been disciplined and willing to make sacrifices to better myself. But even though I worked hard for things, and they weren't just handed to me, I always had things like food and shelter. I didn't have to worry about where my next meal was coming from. And I had support, role models, and opportunities along the way that not everybody has had. And for every one of those things, I am truly thankful. But deep down, I have always felt guilty for having that leg up. Like I got a head start, especially when considering how many millions of others all around the world are not so fortunate. I mean, over 1 billion people, not that everyone wants to hear statistics, over 1 billion people in the world right now live on less than $1 a day. Think about that. We would lose our minds if we were living on 30 bucks a month, myself included. But there are billions of individuals, children, born into poverty, violence, hunger, daily uncertainty, and I've always asked, why me? Why was I so blessed just by being born to my parents in this country to no credit of my own? I didn't do anything about that. Why was I so fortunate to not be born into one of these desolate, poverty-stricken areas? But this last year I had this disruptive realization while listening to my favorite author, Francis Chan, and it was sad. And it was sad because it was not comforting feeling to me. It wasn't an epiphany that I sought or wanted to have, but it was undoubtedly God showing me something I'd never been able to see clearly before. And it was unwanted because it went against everything I believed. And more importantly to me, it went against everything that I spent my entire life working towards. So you, everyone who's listening right now, answer me this question. Between these two individuals, who is more blessed? If on one hand we've got this poor, hungry, blind Ugandan boy born into poverty in Uganda, no parents, he lost them both before his 4th birthday, and he's unsure where his next meal is coming from. And in the other hand, we've got an American guy born into a middle-class family here in the US, hard worker, honest, college degree, good family, solid job. This dude's just living the American dream, right? Now I'm asking you, between those two, who is more blessed? It's easy, right? The second one. There shouldn't be much debate there. So let's take a closer look at these two. Now guy number 2, the American, he has a good job, a group of friends, likes to play golf on the weekends, goes to church most Sundays because that's what they've always done. Unless the kids have a soccer game or there's a golf outing, but that's every once in a while. No big deal. This dude's still a good, responsible, tithing Christian. He prays before his meals, bedtime, tries to read the Bible when he has time. His family even donates monthly to feed some kid in Africa. Maybe it's even our little Ugandan friend. But he's an all-around respectable, good guy with an all-American family. So meanwhile, our poor blind Ugandan boy, this kid struggled physically his entire life. His meals are sparse, he struggles to get clean water, can't see, and he really struggled after losing both of his parents. But this kid has a bright smile. Like, close your eyes right now, just picture this kid. A poor, hungry, blind little boy with a distended belly and this huge smile on his face. And he's got like this contagious little laugh. And through all of his trials and his desperate need for basic things that most of us, including myself, take for granted every single day, this kid's developed this reliant and personally intimate relationship with God. He talks to God all day, every day. He finds his only comfort in God because he doesn't get it from anything else. He doesn't get comfort from his job or gets distracted by his possessions or caught up in his busy schedule. He just lives every day in faith that God will ultimately give him everything he needs, if not in this life, the next. Because he knows that one day he is going to celebrate face to face with his Savior in heaven. And he can picture that day. No more suffering for this kid, no more hunger, and that is all this kid cares and thinks about. So bring yourself back now. On one hand, we've got a guy who is hesitant to give up a round of golf to go through the cumbersome process of attending church, and on the other, we've got a kid who, out of necessity, has clung to Jesus his entire life and is willing to sacrifice anything, no matter how small it is, to follow his Savior. So when I asked you a minute ago, who is more blessed, it was not a trick question. But, yeah, there's a but in there. But you really couldn't answer it until we first truly understand what being blessed actually means. Because as Christians, we, all of us, myself, we have been using it incorrectly all along. Every one of us. We've been making this terrible mistake by equating blessed to how comfortable this life is. We throw around the word blessed as if it's interchangeable with things like prosperity or good health, when instead we should be using it as a measure of how connected we are with God or how well we are living out his purpose for our lives. If prosperity and comfort were God's definition of blessed, the whole Bible would look totally different. The Apostle Paul would have been rolling around in a Bentley and running a hedge fund rather than spending his adult years in prison chained to a wall. Jesus wouldn't have had spikes driven through his limbs with no possessions to show for it. And John the Baptist, the guy probably would have finished life with a head. None of these dudes were living comfortably, and none of them would have been on the cover of Forbes in today's modern society. But I assure you, they were blessed. So the next time somebody casually asks how you're doing, before you proudly hold up your Starbucks cup and cheerfully say how blessed you are, rethink what that actually means. Because we are sending the wrong message. Because Jesus wanted two things from us: to love him above everything else and to love each other. Nothing more. Like, do those two things successfully, you join him in paradise. And that is how we as Christians need to begin defining and using blessed, not whether or not you're living your best life. And by the way, that is like the worst phrase to ever come out of 2020. So let's just leave that there with everything else. So what if, in reality, our poor, poverty-stricken Ugandan boy is actually the one who is more blessed? Now, if you're having a meltdown right now because you think that I'm saying he's got it better than you or I, or that poverty in and of itself is a blessing, you have totally missed the point here. Because the point is that blessing can be found anywhere, regardless of circumstance. And all along, we've been looking at the wrong things to determine whether or not somebody is blessed. So slowing down and considering all of this, what the heck do we need to do from here? And it comes down to two things. I almost all up one. It's two. Number one, we need to stop equating finances or health to being blessed. They are not interchangeable attributes. The status of one may equate to less worry, pain, uncertainty, different things like that in this life. But that does not equate to blessed. And number two, you may think you've been blessed all along with a variety of different things: money, intelligence, the ability to influence others. You're a really good speaker. You have a lot of really good ideas. Maybe you're really good looking. I don't care what it is. You weren't. You were not blessed with any of those things. You were equipped with them. You were only blessed with those attributes if you were actually using them to carry out God's purpose for your life. You are actually the opposite of blessed if your focus remains on using the things God has given you for the purpose of getting yourself ahead. And rather than being blessed, you now have yourself a real life spiritual disadvantage. And God legitimately hates that, when people are equipped to help others and don't. If we believe that Jesus and his message are real, it is time we start actually living like it. Let's stop creating our own priorities and start prioritizing the things that he told us are actually important. And let's be blessed, the real kind. Everybody, it was great catching up with you. April 16th, 2021. It is going to be the ultimate Faith at Work Christian Business Conference. I cannot wait to see you all there. Sign up today to movementleadership.org. We'll talk to you soon. Be blessed.